You were looking at the most expensive Italian footballer of all time. Yes, Sandro Tonali, you're looking at him right here, the most expensive Italian footballer of all time. Today, he was officially announced as a new Tottenham player arriving from Newcastle for 108 million euros. Not only does he become the most expensive Italian footballer of all time, he becomes the most expensive transfer in Tottenham Hotspur's history. And I mean, this is a big move for not just Tonali, but for the Italian national team, for Italian football. Because he becomes the most expensive Italian footballer by a mile. I mean, I think the next one is Matteo Retegui for like 60 to 70 million euros when he signed in Saudi last year. So, this one blows it out the water. And he's probably Italy's best player, if I'm being completely honest. Definitely our most important. You look at the type of profile he is, what he gives us in midfield. I think he's definitely our most important player. And he's just become our most valuable player when you look at the transfer fee, but even his current market value. And I'm going to break down why I think this is a good signing for not just Tottenham, but for Sandro Tonali and the Italian national team. Because I've seen a lot of people, upset at this move. Look at his career. He goes from AC Milan to Newcastle to Tottenham. It's kind of a sideways step, especially Newcastle to Tottenham. But I disagree. I know this is a team that finished 17th last season in the Premier League. I mean, they almost got relegated. But under fellow Italian manager Roberto De Zerbi, I think they have something. I think they have something special. I don't think they'll win the league. I don't think they'll compete for it, but I think they have something. So let's take a look at Sandro Tonali, man. Obviously, his market value is 74 million. Obviously, this is that just gives you an idea of what he's worth. But as you can see, your new Tottenham Hotspur player. And I think this is a good signing for Tottenham. I think he gives them legs in midfield. And I think even his on-ball ability, I think people are overhating it. He's a more than competent passer. His game is suited to the Premier League, as he showed at Newcastle. You look at that PMP, that high energy, physical midfielder that Italy lacks, which is why he's so valuable for us. But in the Premier League, they value those traits tenfold. And that's why I think he'll be so good for Tottenham, because you pair him up with a player that can pass. You pair him up with a player that can progress the ball forward. He could do everything else in that midfield. I think in a pivot already with Mateus Fernandes, who they already signed, I think that would be really good. You play someone like a James Maddison that's good on the ball, that's a creator in front of them. I think it was solid midfield three. And then that's not even mentioning Xavi Simons, who's going to come back maybe late in the new year, or early in the new year, or late in this current year. We'll see what happens there. But I think for the Italian national team, this is a good deal, because you're looking at a player that, again, is taking a step up. I know people might not see that. Newcastle finished higher in the table. Newcastle's been a better performing club than Tottenham in recent years. But, let's just ask ourselves why Newcastle can even afford to sell Tonali for that much, and why Tottenham can even buy him for that much. Let's ask that question. Why can Tottenham buy him for 108 million? Well, because Tottenham are, financially one of the best run clubs in the world financially. They make so much money off their new stadium. Everyone jokes about the Beyonce and the NFL, but all that stuff rakes in a ton of money for them. And because of that, they're an attractive destination, especially being in London as well. So they are rightfully part of the Big Six, although they've been underperforming in recent years. So this is a step up for Sandro Tonali. And I think, although they're not playing in Europe next season, they're playing one game a week, I think they'll definitely get into Europe next season. And who knows, maybe it's going to be top 5 now because of how strong the Premier League is. But they get into that top 5, and Sandro Tonali's playing Champions League football next season under De Zerbi. That's my prediction. I think Spurs could definitely finish in the top 5, especially with only one game a week. De Zerbi will have lots of time with them on the training ground. And let's not forget, this is a player that De Zerbi said, I want this guy. And Sandro Tonali said, yes, I'm coming to Tottenham to play for De Zerbi. Tonali had interest from Arsenal, Manchester City, even United, other Premier League clubs. Not concrete interest like Tottenham, but there was interest there. But Tonali snapped up the idea to play for Spurs right away and said yes. And a lot of that was down to De Zerbi. So I think that's a good sign. I think De Zerbi obviously has connections to him. I don't know if it's from his Brescia days or maybe just Italian connections, but I'm hoping he profiles him well, because this is a player where obviously we're in a down period in the Italian national team, missing another World Cup. But you look at his age, he's only 26 years of age. And so at the next World Cup, he'll be 30. And for a player of his type, I think 30, he's still in his prime. So we got to make sure when even the Euros in 2 years, when he's 28, he needs to play in the Euros. And for me, this will be huge. You look at the last Euros, 2024, Tonali couldn't feature in it, obviously, because of the ban. So this is a guy that is going to be 28 playing in his first major international tournament. That's crazy to me. But, however, when he's 28, we need him to be ready. and we need him to be in form. And I think he'll do that under Tottenham. I think they're on the up. Not just the transfer, all the spending. Look at Liverpool last summer. They spent all that money, and I don't even know. They didn't even finish top 2, did they? I think they finished 3rd or 4th. Actually, United finished ahead of them. So just because you win the transfer market does not mean you have a good season. However, I like the way Spurs are going. So for me, I like this move for Sandro. I like this move for the Italian national team. And I think he'll perform well in that midfield. Like I just said, they signed Mateus Fernandes. They've got creators ahead of him. Also, Destiny Udogie, fellow Italian left back, I think, who also, if he can stay healthy, I think in 2 years' time, we could be looking at him as the starting left back of the Italian national team at the Euros. But he just needs to stay healthy. It's easier said than done, but back to Sandro Tonali. If you look at his season this year, we're definitely not going to look at World Cup qualification. We're going to look at the Premier League. 35 appearances, 31 started. He actually didn't score, funnily enough. He didn't score all year. He had 2 assists, but, for me, that's not the important factor with Tonali. It's his off-the-ball work. It's his tackles per game. He wins a tackle every game. Look at the balls recovered. Pause. But balls recovered per game. He does really well in that area. And yeah, everyone thinks he's this thug midfielder because he plays with Joe Linton and Bruno G. But the guy only had 4 yellows this whole season. And I think this is a player where, like I said, is he deserving of an 108 million euro price tag? Absolutely not. Who's worth their price tag these days? Very few people, very few players. So for me, I think this is a great signing, not just for Tottenham, but I think this is good for the Italian national team. Now, would I have preferred him at a big club like an Arsenal, Manchester City, Manchester United? Probably yes. It's nice to see Italians at the biggest clubs, and not to be disrespectful to Tottenham, but they're just not that super club. They are a big club, whether people want to laugh at them or not and say, they're this, they're that, the trophies, Spurs, typical Spurs, but they are a big club. Look at the money they rake in. You look at what they've done, even the past couple of years, it's been terrible. But before that, they're consistently finishing in the top 4, and they're always right up there. So for me, this is a good move for Sandro. I know a lot of people have their doubts about this move because of the club he's joining, and they almost got relegated last season, but I think De Zerbi and I think Sandro know that together, I think they'll be a really good fit. And like I said, for me, I just want our players playing for top clubs so that, especially not even just the World Cup in 4 years, which we hopefully qualify for, but even 2 years with the Euros. I want to have a good Euros. And I think Sandro playing at Tottenham in 2 years' time, I think he'll be in good form. Hopefully he's healthy. And yeah, I think this move will be good for him, man. I think this year, upcoming, he'll play 1 game a week. He'll gain some rhythm, gain some momentum in that side. And then I'm thinking in a year's time, they're playing Champions League football. They're heading into a season where they're playing in the Champions League. They're on the up. They're a decent side. But again, De Zerbi, who knows with that guy? Maybe in a year's time he's sacked because he said some outlandish thing that's got him sacked because he's a very fiery character, De Zerbi. So he's kind of like a Conte, like a modern day progressive football Conte. If Conte played progressive football, because look wherever De Zerbi's been, he's always had a falling out with some player. He's always had a falling out with someone involved in the club, which eventually resulted him to leave. Because he doesn't stay at clubs very long. So I'm not saying Tonali and De Zerbi are going to have this long, healthy, happy relationship with their club, but I think this could be a duo that could serve the Italian national team. Because like I said, Sandro Tonali in my opinion, is our best player. I look at, again, what he is. He's such a unique profile. There aren't many Italians that can run like him, that are physical like him, that have cojones like him, that can, get on the ball and wants to keep things ticking in the midfield. I'm not going to praise him too much because he was part of that, he was the Bosnian heroes that failed to qualify against Bosnia, which was just in March. So I'm not going to praise him too much. However, you still got to respect him, and he is probably our best player. So when our best player is making a move like this, becoming the most expensive Italian player of all time, I think the 9th biggest Premier League transfer of all time, you got to talk about it, and I got to give my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you rate this move. I'm sure a lot of people won't rate the move. I'm going to give like I just did, my optimistic take on the move. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So Sandro Tonali, new Tottenham player. Please be sure to like. Please be sure to subscribe down below so I can keep making videos like these. I'm going to be consistent on this channel. Give more opinionated videos and also more frequent videos instead of the old once or twice a week. maybe I start giving 3, 4, 5 videos a week. I want to give you guys content, Italian national team content, and general football content as well. I'll probably make some videos at the end of the World Cup, maybe like my World Cup players. I don't know, something like that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, like I said, comment down below what you think of this move, and please support the channel. And I'll see you on the next one. Easy.